Janice stared at the statement, $187. 8 of her bank cards were maxed out. 3 times she read the figure. $187. That was all she had left. And tomorrow was Christmas. There was nothing to do but slump in front of her 40-inch TV and cry. So Janice did just that. Her life had its ups and downs, but crying was her forte. Soon, she settled into sobbing, surveying her dismal surroundings. The furnished apartment cost her $800 a week and had its charms, like the penthouse view of Manhattan's skyline. But the plush velvet furniture, once luxurious, now looked worn and dated. In the vestibule below was a letterbox that hadn't seen mail in years. Janice handled all correspondence via email. An electric doorbell, disconnected to soothe her nerves, hung above it. A gold-embossed card read Ms. Diana Young, B.A., a relic from better days when Diana earned $300 a week. Now, with her income down to $200, they considered dropping the impressive credentials. But when Diana returned home, she was greeted warmly as Jim by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, also known as Janice. It was all quite confusing, especially for those unfamiliar with their domestic arrangement as a transgender couple. After her tears, Janice wiped her cheeks with a dish rag. Standing by the window, she gazed blankly as a gray Mercedes pulled into a gray driveway leading to a gray 3-car garage. Tomorrow was Christmas, and she had only $187 to buy Diana a gift. Janice should have saved every penny, but there was always something to spend on: a designer dress, a weekend in the Virgin Islands, a weekly bottle of single malt scotch, and now she had $187 in credit left. Diana's $200 weekly earnings from selling cosmetics at stadium parking lots barely covered expenses, especially with Janice's extravagant tastes like caviar with her bacon and eggs. Now, she had just $187 to buy something special for Diana. Her Diana. Janice had spent many happy hours planning something nice for her beloved, something exquisite and rare, worthy of Diana, who typically shopped at Walmart. 3 walls of the room were mirrored, a testament to Janice's perpetual concern for her appearance. Suddenly, she spun away from the window and confronted one of the mirrors. Her eyes gleamed brightly, thanks to the pills, but her complexion drained within 20 seconds. She swiftly let down her hair, allowing it to cascade to its full length. Janice and Diana each possessed 2 items they held in excessive pride. One was Diana's diamond earring set, a cherished heirloom passed down from her father and grandfather. The other was Janice's hair. If Madonna herself resided in the penthouse across the Swan Pond, Janice would have flaunted her hair out the window just to stir envy. Even if Donald Trump were the janitor with his wealth amassed in the basement, Diana would have jiggled her earrings to see him awkwardly turn away. So now Janice's lustrous hair draped around her, rippling and shimmering like molten lava. It reached below her knee, almost resembling a gown on her. She nervously and quickly styled it up again. At one point, she paused, her mascara-soaked tears staining the Persian rug. She donned her mink coat and Norwegian ski hat, the sparkles still vivid in her eyes. Swirling her skirts, she hurried out the door and into the elevator, descending to the street where she hailed a cab bound for New York. The cab stopped at Miss Vicky. Goodies for the T** community. Janice rushed up one flight of stairs, catching her breath. Miss Vicky, large, hairy, hardly resembled a miss. "Will you buy my hair?" Janice asked. "I buy hair," replied Miss Vicky with a leer. "Remove your hat and let me feel it." Down cascaded the crimson waves. $200, Madame declared, lifting the mass with a fetishist's touch. "Give it to me quickly," Janice urged. For the next 2 hours, she scoured discount stores for Diana's gift. Finally, she found it. Clearly meant for Diana and no one else, it stood out among all the stores she had combed through. A fake diamond necklace, ostentatious and gaudy, exuded as much bad taste as the diamond earrings. Its brass fittings matched the earrings perfectly. Upon spotting it, Janice immediately knew it had to be Diana's. It oozed her unmistakable tastelessness. They took $310 from her for it, and after handing over the cash and maxing out her credit, she used the remaining $70 to hire a cab back to New Jersey. With that necklace, Janice mused, Diana would surely want to flaunt her earrings all the time, which, in Janice's opinion, was a good thing. It concealed Diana's elephant-like ears. When Janice returned home, her euphoria ebbed slightly, replaced by prudence and reason. She stroked her now bald head, a result of both generosity and love. Eventually, she convinced herself that she resembled a movie star. She scrutinized her reflection in the mirror long and critically. If Diana doesn't murder me, she muttered to herself, before she takes a second glance at me, she'll think I resemble Dr. Evil. But what on earth can I do with only $187? At 7 o'clock, the cafe latte brewed, and the wok simmered on the stove, ready to cook tiger shrimp curry. Diana was perpetually tardy. Janice fiddled with the necklace in her hand, seated in a tubular chair near the door through which Diana typically entered. Then, she heard Diana's heavy footsteps exiting the express elevator, and for a brief moment, Janice turned pale. She had a habit of silently praying about even the simplest everyday matters, and now she whispered, Lord, make Diana think I'm still attractive. The door swung open, and Diana stepped in, shutting it behind her. She appeared gaunt and unusually serious. Poor thing, only 22, and burdened already with sagging breasts. She needed a new coat and lacked gloves. Diana paused just inside the door, as motionless as a gourmet at a buffet table. Her gaze fixed on Janice, an expression Janice couldn't decipher, and it sent a shiver down her spine. It wasn't anger, surprise, disapproval, horror, or any of the emotions Janice had braced herself for. Diana simply stared at her with a blank expression. Janice squirmed out of her chair and approached Diana. Jim, darling, she exclaimed, don't look at me like that. I shaved my head and sold my hair because I couldn't bear Christmas without giving you a gift. I think I look rather fetching bald, and it'll grow back in a couple of years. You don't mind, do you? I just had to do it. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You've no idea what an incredible gift I have for you. You cut off your hair? Diana asked dumbly, as if she hadn't yet grasped that obvious fact, despite her most strenuous mental efforts. Diana could be a bit slow at times. I cut it off and sold it, Janice replied. But you still like me just the same, don't you? I'm still me without my hair, aren't I? Diana glanced around the room with a puzzled expression. Your hair is gone? She asked, sounding somewhat bewildered. You don't need to search for it, Janice assured her. I've sold it, I tell you, sold and gone. It's Christmas Eve, darling. Be kind to me, for I did it all for you. Maybe the hairs of my head were numbered, she added with a sudden, tender seriousness, but my love for you can't be counted. Shall I start cooking the shrimp, Jim? Awakening from her daze, Diana embraced Janice warmly. She then pulled a package from her handbag and placed it on the table. Don't misunderstand, Janice, Diana said. There's nothing, whether a haircut, shave, or shampoo, that could make me love my girl any less. But if you unwrap that package, you'll understand why I was momentarily thrown off. With nimble fingers, Janice tore at the string and paper. First, there was an ecstatic scream of joy, followed all too quickly by hysterical tears and sobs, much to Diana's surprise. She always was a bit slow on the uptake. There lay the combs, the set Janice had admired for so long in a Fifth Avenue shop window. Beautiful combs made of pure tortoiseshell, adorned with rubies and emeralds along the edges, the perfect complement to the now missing hair. They were undoubtedly expensive, and Janice had longed for them with all her heart. She had pleaded with Diana for months to acquire them, though she had given up hope of ever possessing them. Now they were hers, but the tresses that should have adorned them were gone. Janice could only think, life is unfair. Still, she clutched them close to her heart, and after a while, she managed to look up with tear-filled eyes and a faint smile. My hair will grow back in 2 years, Jim. Then, like a startled cat, Janice leaped up and exclaimed, "Oh, oh. I have something wonderful to show you, darling." Diana hadn't yet seen her beautiful gift. Janice eagerly presented it to her on an open palm. The cut glass and brass seemed to shimmer with a reflection of her bright and passionate spirit. "Isn't it wonderful, Jim? I searched all over town for it. Put on your earrings. I want to see how they look with the necklace." Instead of complying, as she typically did to avoid trouble, Diana collapsed onto the couch, clasped her hands over her chest, and smiled. "Joe," she said, "let's put away our Christmas gifts and save them for a while. They're too special to use this year. I pawned the earrings to buy your combs. Why don't you start grilling the shrimp and open some red wine? You know how much I love Bolivian table wine." The Magi, as you know, were wise men, at least by men's standards, who brought gifts to the baby in the manger. They began the lamentable custom of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were undoubtedly wise ones, and surely could be exchanged at Herod's gift emporium if they missed the mark. Here, I've clumsily recounted the unremarkable tale of two foolish lovers in a pricey apartment with a river view who were, truth be told, quite foolish. They sacrificed their most precious possessions for each other. But to you cynics and know-it-alls, let it be known, of all those who gave gifts in Jersey that year, they were the wisest. Not only did they demonstrate their love for each other, but Janice looked rather fetching without her hair, and Diana didn't seem quite so gaudy without her flashy jewelry.